Hello, welcome to Aurora Connects Season 2. This is episode 2 for Friday, August 21st, 2020, The Carpenters. Thank you for your patience. We were experiencing a little bit backstage technical difficulties, but we're all here now and ready to dive in. Josh, I have a very special quote today that I'm really excited to read.
Great. Would you mind introducing yourself to everybody first?
Oh, I always forget that part. I am Dawn Monique Williams, Associate Artistic Director of Aurora Theater, and always joined by co-host Josh Costello, Artistic Director.
Hi, everybody.
Great.
I'm looking forward to this quote.
This is in honor of today's guest. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. Last scene of all, that ends this strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. That is from William Shakespeare's As You Like It. And I did a little trim in there because I didn't think I needed to read the whole 7 ages of person speech live on air. But as we bring in our guests, I'll embarrass them with the details of why I chose that.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. While we're waiting for that, I want to encourage everybody to comment on Facebook and in the YouTube chat room with questions for today or suggestions for future episodes.
And folks can always email us at connects@auroratheater.org with suggestions for the show, quotes, questions, guests you'd like to see on the show. And the show is available in an audio podcast format. That's available on Stitch, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe.
And we just sent out a big email the other day about our membership program. If you haven't gotten that, please check out our website or check your spam folder, because we have an amazing lineup of virtual offerings for you in this upcoming season. And perhaps we'll get back to live theater by the end of the season. And the membership includes all of that. So please go to auroratheater.org, click on memberships, find out about our audio drama that we have coming up and other offerings throughout the year. While you're there, you can give us a donation as well, if you're so moved, by clicking the donations button at the top right. So Dawn, who are our wonderful guests today?
Today, we are joined by James and Cassandra Carpenter, Bay Area theater makers extraordinaire. And I have to say, Josh, as a patron of the arts, I have maybe 10 theatrical moments that have just stuck with me over the years. And I have to say, seeing Jim Carpenter play both Adam and Jaques in As You Like It at San Jose Rep is at the top of that list. And I know that play very well. I've been in it. I've directed it. And I was like, how can an actor play both Adam and Jaques? They're in the scene together. Jim I'm sure impeccably guided by a director, but used that 7 ages of man speech to transition from Jaques back to Adam. And it was stunning, complete with costume change, a wig came off, spectacles went on, it didn't look like he didn't have any teeth. It was so beautiful, so stunning. So I am so thrilled that we are joined today by both Jim and Cass Carpenter, who have both worked at Aurora extensively. So I'm just like fangirling over here.
Welcome, you two. How are you?
Good. Yeah, we're hanging in there,
Yeah, you guys both worked on the last show that Aurora did before we had to close our doors, The Children. That was remarkable. There's Jim and in The Children in Cass's costumes. And there's some more photos from The Children. But you guys have worked all over the Bay Area, Berkeley Rep, MTC, Magic, ACT, Cal Shakes, just all over for many, many years. I want to start by asking, did you, well, and you know what, actually, I want to say this too, that just as Dawn was fangirling, I have my own fanboy moment with Jim. When I was about 12 years old, I saw you play Prince Hal in Henry IV Part 1 at Berkeley Shakes at John Hinkle Park. Did you work on that one too, Cass? Was that you?
I didn't work on that one, but that's one of my favorite performances.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
But it was amazing.
Yeah, and that turned me on to Shakespeare, and has been, you know, sort of a guiding star for me for a long, long time. Did you two? How did you two meet? Did you meet on a show? I'm imagining that like there was a costume fitting in some costume shop, and you're dressing him, and your eyes met.
That's
And
a romance, Josh.
Oh,
look at that!
Yeah.
Look at that! There you are.
Oh my God, that photo makes me laugh.
It
so
makes me
much.
laugh too.
I look like such a happy idiot. We met in school, New Mexico State University in southern New Mexico, about 50 miles from the U.S. border. It was a little cow cottage, college, agricultural engineering school that had a tiny drama department.
Mm-hmm.
We met during production, but we did a summer melodrama together
Yeah.
in this little, not a tourist town, it was an actual town where Billy the Kid hung out.
It's actually it's Old Mesilla,
Old
Mesilla, New Mexico, which was actually there before Las Cruces was. I mean, it was the original Mexican settlement, and that was where back in the day, Billy the Kid and his cohorts actually did hang out there. It has a lot of Southwest history attached to it.
But it had a little bar called El Patio, which had green and white linoleum on the floors. The same guys were always at the bar. One guy was in a uniform from World War II, always. Monster movie posters with Christmas tree lights around them.
Yeah.
And a tiny little stage.
Yep.
And they would have rock bands, and we did a melodrama there that was locally written and very bad. But we didn't care. We had a lot of fun. And Cass stepped in. You wanna tell this part of the story?
Oh, well, I actually did help with the costumes. A friend of mine was doing a can number with she and a couple of her dancer friends were doing a can number, and they wanted me to create some cheap saloon girl looking costumes with old square dance petticoats and long line bras. So I was helping do that, and I was just sort of working backstage, kind of helping out, because it was also sort of an amateur night talent show venue as well. Singers, a bad magician, and a stripper who did a very, by today's standards, a very tame, a classic Gypsy Rose Lee striptease number.
Yeah.
And she couldn't make it one night. I mean, she got something happened, and she couldn't make it. And so basically, I think we had, and the director said, well, why don't you do it? And it's like, me? I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. I'll help you figure it out. And it's like, so I had to go home. I got my prom dress from high school and some long white gloves. And, I basically assembled myself an outfit and found some somewhat inappropriate undergarments. And I was very nervous. I drank a lot of tequila. And I went on and I was Cherry La Bombe. And it changed Jim's whole opinion of me as a person.
I guess so.
I had to say, I don't know that I'd ever really seen her before that night. When I saw her in her scanties with Cherry La Bombe stitched in red thread across her ass, I opened my eyes a little wider. We wound up making out beneath the rain spout of the bar that night.
Yeah. So
and that was the start of
so
something
that
big.
kind of started us being, a little bit more aware of each other. But we also did appear on stage again together in college. Jim was playing Tiresias the Blind Seer, and I was Eurydice the Queen in a bad, version of whatever Greek play that was, but it was not very good. But yeah, that's basically where we met and where we got our start, and both as a couple and in the theater.
I love that story so much. That's so thrilling. Well, I mean, how do you make it work as two theater professionals? You know, we hear it said all the time. Oh, there's another sweet one.
This is our actual, this is our actual wedding photo. We were talking about, scrimping and saving and not having the life that most people have when they first get married. No big weddings for us. No big, we were sort of hippie-ish. And that was our actual wedding picture on our wedding day. A friend made us matching macrame belts.
Oh.
And we went to the county courthouse and got married at about lunchtime by Judge Bernard Gluck, and his brother Morris was next door. So he said, Morris, we need a witness. Come over here. We got married in the map room of the Doña Ana courthouse, facing east with the map of the state of New Mexico behind us. It was dramatic and romantic.
Yeah.
And then I took Jim home we only had one car. I took Jim home to drop him off so he could take a nap. And then I went to the theater and prepped the costumes because I think that was opening night for As You Like It. As You Like It that we did at the short-lived New Mexico Shakespeare Festival that summer. Yeah. So because I did the costumes for As You Like It and Midsummer, and I can't remember, but several Shakespeares, and Jim was in them. And we were also that same summer in, not just, I think it was after that, we were in, we played Jaquanetta. I was Jaquanetta, and Jim was Don Armado.
Oh, in Love's Labors.
In Love's Labors. And so we were on stage together, and I was also the costume designer for that. You know, it's that you do everything kind of theater, but that's kind of where we started out.
I'm such a romantic. I love these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. People think they're romantic. You don't think they're romantic when you're living them, you know.
You saw that first picture of me on the couch. That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd call that romantic or not. Maybe clueless.
How did you end up getting well, first of all, are you guys, there's another one of you two. Are you from New Mexico originally, both of you? And then how did you get from college in New Mexico and New Mexico Shakespeare Festival to the Bay Area?
Well, she's the native New Mexican.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I actually was born in California. We both came from military families. My father was in the Air Force, and I was born at Mather Air Force Base. But then my parents moved to New Mexico, and then Jim's father was also in the military, and then he retired to New Mexico and in Las Cruces, and it just then my parents were in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and so I decided I didn't want to. I had a choice. My parents, I could have the use of the family car and live at home, or I could go to school somewhere not at home, and I wanted to not be at home. Not because I had a bad family life. I had a really nice family. And I think that was part of the problem. I needed to be away from my family and kind of, get a little bit more of my own independence. So I lived in the dorm for the first couple of semesters because it was required. And then I had various assorted adventures, but that's...
Yeah, we all did.
We all did. But essentially, then after Jim and I got married, we decided that we needed, we worked summer theater, a different summer theater, our big adventure. Our first was... We went to Sul Ross State University's summer theater program. We both got hired because they would pay us.
Western Texas.
West Texas. It's the Theater of the Big Bend near Big Bend National Park. It was about as Texas as you can get. It was really in the middle of nowhere.
More poisonous critters per square inch than any place in the United States.
Yeah.
They actually had a venomology institute
there. Yeah.
And you had to check your boots in the morning and
you couldn't you couldn't put your costumes down on anything backstage.
But it was fun. We worked our butts off and got paid $100 a month?
We got $300 each a month. they gave us housing, and the housing that we had was old experimental cattle barns that they had turned into married student housing for their regular students.
Yeah, filled with military furniture.
Military issue furniture, and it had a big drain in the floor because, you know, when it was a cow barn, they just would hose it out. Concrete floors with a big drain.
Yeah.
At which the
No smell or anything.
no,
like that,
no, but the tarantulas could come up through the drain. The cats brought in lizards and snakes. Yeah, so it was adventure.
But it was fun.
It was fun.
The glamorous life of a theatrical couple.
Yeah, I got to New Mexico when I was about 11 in 1960, whatever, and we went to White Sands Missile Range, which is right on the other side of this mountain range that looks like a dinosaur's back, called the Organ Mountains, and they were maybe 25 miles apart, but my dad was very high-ranking officer at White Sands Missile Range, actually ran the missile test evaluation program there, which would shoot missiles into Utah to test various kinds.
Wow.
I got to go to rocket launches when I was a kid, which was kind of cool, but it was a good guy, but he was a real hard nose. And so getting away from, getting out from under my father's thumb was huge. And of course, the first thing I did was party my ass off and do a lot of theater and go to school when I felt like it. And I got justifiably kicked out on both academic and disciplinary probation after I was arrested for smoking pot. And that was in 1972. And in Texas, they were putting people away for 25 years for possession of less than 1 ounce of marijuana.
Oh.
So that was a big deal back then. And they said, we think you need to take a semester out. Yeah, just chill. But both of us, I think, have always tried to work where we learned, find experiences that would broaden us. And we knew that, we weren't going to find what we needed in New Mexico. There's very little theater in New Mexico. There are more now. But Cass actually founded a theater, which is still there in Albuquerque. But we moved to Sacramento while Cass got her master's in costuming. And then I got hired at Ashland quite unexpectedly. I had started auditioning at the university that Cass was going to. I actually, for the very first show I did in California, I beat Tom Hanks out of the role of Sherlock Holmes. Tom Hanks was going to school there, and you could see the comedian in the man. He and his friend Randy, who was also in the program, they had all the Saturday Night Live routines memorized, and they did them brilliantly.
Yep.
And you just think, this guy's gone somewhere. I don't know where, but yeah,
But you beat him out.
He got it. Yeah. I just I played it a different way from him. He put more comedy in it, and I think the director just went, no, that it's not played as a comedy. Comedy might come out of the serious nature that in which you're performing, but it's not played as comedy. It's not a send-up.
Okay, and I have to say, my take on it is, okay, turn sideways. Okay, look at that profile. He looks like those Sherlock Holmes drawings from the original time.
What can we say?
I think that was part of it. The director was
the nose.
The director was a great guy, but a little old-fashioned.
But he helped me. Brilliant little guy named Jerry Larson, who would watch like he was, he'd come up to the stage like that, and you go, what the hell is this guy doing? Or he'd take a stick and just start whacking the stage like that. And you're all of a sudden you're talking faster, which is exactly what he wanted. It was like, come on, pick it up, move it. And I asked Jerry for help for the Ashland audition, and he helped me choose a piece and coach me in the piece, and I got in.
And he got hired. He had to take the bus up because that's all we could afford.
I didn't even know when I got to Ashland. I didn't even know there was an actors union. That's how raw I was. Part of that was my own doing from my crappy schoolwork, but I also. I would also lay some of that to the size and capability of the drama program that was down there at the time. Yeah. After Ashland, we just kind of, we were there 3 years. She was kind of in, it was bumpier for Cass than it was for me.
Yeah, it was hard.
I was not asked back my first year. And I went to Jim Edmondson, if you know him, and I'd done a project with him, and he said, remind me to talk to Jerry about you. And like a Monday later, Jerry called me and said, well, it's really been a good rate having you here, but I'm afraid we don't have anything for you next year. And I was like, oh God, I'm gonna die, And I said, okay, thanks, Jerry. And then I called Jimmy up and said, Jimmy, that talk you were going to have with Jerry, would you please have it now? And he did. And Jerry called me into the office the next day and he sits me down and he just looks at me. He goes, well, I suppose I talked to Jimmy. I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, okay, here's the deal. Not offering you any plays. Anybody who was there the first year automatically got an offer of at least one role for one of the shows in the next season. So I'm not going to offer you anything. Anything you get, you're going to have to audition for. Got it? I said, sounds good with me. And I studied my ass off and got a couple of really nice roles. And from that point on, I was in. But Ashland it was a fantastic place for me, if not as fantastic for Cass.
It was fantastic for both of us in a lot of ways. Just the work part of it. I enjoyed the work, but there was no opportunity for design because that was when they had resident designers, Jeannie Davidson, who was a wonderful costume designer, but that was already sort of sewn up. So there was no venue for someone who needed a little bit more experience. But yeah, so, one of those things.
But Andy Treister, I don't know if you know him, a director that had worked up there, had just gotten hired down at the Old Globe. And I said, hey, you got anything for me? Let me know, Andy. We'd done a birthday party together. I played McCann that time around. And he said, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. And we're in the middle of summer auditions in summer of 1983. And I'm auditioning and I've studied and everything like that, but I'm not getting any real, I'm not feeling the interest from the directors, you develop a radar for that. And that night, Andy called me up and said, look, we've got an intern spot down here in San Jose. San Diego. We can probably find a spot for Cass too. Do you want to come? And I was like, I am right in the middle of summer auditions. Can I get back to you? I need to talk to Jerry first. And I went to Jerry and said, I'm only in 2 shows, 2 small roles. I know I'm easily replaceable. Is it okay with you if I jump ship? If I change horse midstream? And I'd come up to him in full openness, and he was great. He said, well, what do you want? And I said, well, I would like this role, this role, this role, or this role. And he said, okay, give us a day and we'll get back to you. And did another round of auditions. And he said, okay, you're not first choice for any of those, but you're second choice for a whole bunch of them. What do you want to do? And I said, I want to jump. I have to leave. And he said, you can stay here as long as you want. We're going to be going equity. And I said, yeah, but when, Jerry? I mean, they were in 1983. They were still non-equity. And I don't think they went equity until the 90s, sometime in the 90s. So we went down to San Diego, poor as church mice. And just packed everything we had on top of our car and in our car and
in a trailer.
Oh, Jesus.
and drove to San Diego.
And there we were. We found a little apartment not too far from the Globe, and they threw us into the fire. And it was a totally different kind of organization than Ashland was then. It was very, they let you know right away, let the interns know. Actors are a dime a dozen. We can replace you anytime. So don't mess up. Do your work. And my very first day there, I was sitting in my director friend's office and chatting with another friend. We heard the door of the casting director's office open and close. And so we dropped our voices. And then we heard this guy say, John, I just want to tell you, it's really been great. And John was another one of the interns who had just gotten there that day with me. It's been really great having you here, but I'm afraid we don't have anything for you. So thank you. Thank you for coming. It's been swell. Have, take care of yourself. And there was this pause. And John said, what, are you firing me? And he said, well, yeah, we're letting you go, John. We're letting you go because we don't have a need for you, but thank you again. Thank you so much. And he said, but I just moved down here. And he said, yeah, I know. I'm sorry, John. I know that's awkward. And he says, no, you don't understand. I gave up my apartment. I packed all my crap into my car and moved down here. And now you're telling me I don't have a job. And we listened to this poor sucker hit the road with, nothing in his pocket. And that in itself made me go, okay, Jim, you walking on some really thin eggshells down here. And I don't believe the organization is like that now, but you really had to watch your step, you know. They expected a lot from you. They demanded it of you. And all we did all summer long was memorize lines, understudy. I was understudying shows that I couldn't even see because I was in shows that were opposite them. I had to take my booking out, my blocking out of the stage manager's book, which of course, is never accurate. By the end of the play, half the time they haven't gotten it all. So we were catching curveballs all the time, whoa, here comes a fast one. And you had to be on your toes. I actually got some good roles. Most of the other interns did not. They moved furniture. So I was very lucky in that respect. And I got a call from an organization I'd applied to called Affiliate Artists. It was based in New York. And they hired actors, dancers, singers, mimes, musicians, artists of every spectrum, and asked them to put together what they called an informant, which was a 45-minute performance/discussion to be taken as residencies for a couple of days or a week in towns all over the United States. And I knew that I was going to, be out of work sometime, so it might be nice to have a backup plan. And so I applied for this place, and they said, we want you to audition in San Francisco. So flew up to San Francisco. It was September, and I was sure that it was going to be Arctic, so I dressed in tweed, and it was 98 degrees when I got off the plane. And by the time I got to the theater, I had sweat stains down to my waist. But I managed to clean up, managed to do a pretty good audition, got a call from them, and a call from Joy Carlin, who at the time was the nominal acting artistic director at Berkeley Rep right after Michael Liebert had been asked to leave. And she said, I would like to offer you a role in, God, what was the name of it? Can't remember. As a punk rocker.
Punk rock.
Yeah. And I said, yes. I just said, yes. But yes, my first gig. I'd actually gotten my equity card by acting in and stage managing the children's show for the Old Globe Theater called
the school tour show.
The school tour for called The Anger of Achilles, which was a 45-minute Reader's Digest version of the Iliad without an ounce of humor in it.
Oh no!
And we went to high schools. They were so mean to us. Oh shit! They ate us for breakfast. We were all wearing dresses. The guys were all wearing dresses, and you'd step out on stage in your chiton, which is what it's called, and they go, oh, it was nightmarish. And we did it for 4 brutal months. And we were just like, God, couldn't do this anymore. And I was stage managing these guys, and I had to keep the morale up. I had to get them all together and call them, at like 5 o'clock in the morning and say, Bruno, you were supposed to be here 20 minutes ago. Where the hell are you?
So you jumped ship to go be a punk rocker at Berkeley Rep with Joy Carlin.
Yeah, well, we all voted to call the tour, So yeah, I've had enough. That was my first show at Berkeley Rep, and
so it was Joy Carlin that brought you to the Bay Area.
It was Joy
Carlin.
Yeah.
So, and we are forever grateful to Joy.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. Jim was up here on his own doing the show because otherwise engaged, I think was the show. Yeah. And Jim was doing the show, but we were kind of hedging our bets because of past experiences and how many times we'd moved. So we just kind of wanted to make sure. And Jim said, I think this is where I'd like to be. And so he stayed because they had some housing for him. And so I stayed in San Diego the remainder of my contract because by that time I was the stock and rental agent. They were just starting to put it on computer and they rented out their costume stock to, local schools or mostly other theater organizations. And I had been the head of the wardrobe crew as well. I ran the wardrobe crew at night. I basically replaced the person they had there for the first couple of years I worked for her. I also worked in the costume shop and I learned a lot. Because the Globe has 3 theaters, it was quite a task. And as the wardrobe supervisor, I had to memorize all 8 of the crew's tracks for the different shows. And whenever there were special projects, I was in charge of those special projects, which was wonderful because I got to work with Culture Clash when they came and did a show. Yeah. I got to work with the guys who did, what was the one about the Greater Tuna? I got to work with Lily Tomlin. So whenever they did, and my favorite experience of all was I actually got to work on the original version of Corridos that they workshopped. In the summer, they did workshops with Luis Valdez and El Teatro Campesino. And because I'm from New Mexico and part of my family is Mexican, basically, it was like my heart was, I loved it. It just was such a connection, which has also been nice because moving back up here, that connection has stood all these years. And we did a Corridos remix and Quinan Valdez, Luis's son, was the director. So it's interesting how some things in your arc, those connections are meant to be, and you just never know. I mean, it was pretty cool. So we decided we liked the Bay Area. and that we wanted to stay. So then I packed up everything in a car and drove up here with a cat a cat that we had that had just had kittens. So a bunch of kittens and all of our earthly possessions with my. I moved one more time to the housing that Berkeley Rep had, and while Jim was trying to, was finishing out his contract, and we had all our boxes there, I tried to find a place to live, and so found a place to live. We lived over by Lake Merritt when we first got here, on Harrison Street, just above Lake Merritt, right around the corner from the Stop and Rob.
Okay.
And it was not the neighborhood then that it was now. It was not a bad neighborhood, but it was not as upscale and trendy.
Yeah, it's been gentrified a lot since then.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we landed here.
Yeah.
What an amazing journey. I'll go back to the question that I was asking before Amanda threw up that delicious wedding photo of yours, which is, and in light of this amazing journey, how have you made it work as theater professionals? And are there is there like a cardinal rule or a golden rule, or you always people say don't date actors?
I don't know. We both get fed up with each other from time to time, like any couple does. The business itself, we rarely get to work together anymore. That was one of the nice things about doing the children, is that Cass and I got to work together again. And the time before that had been American Buffalo. It's always Aurora. It's always Aurora that we get to work together again. But I forgot where I was going with this. Oops.
How do you make your relationship work? How do you do it? What's the secret?
Well, I think one thing is we don't do the same thing. I'm not an actor. I'm a costume designer. And he's not a costume designer. So I think that we both work in the same area, but we don't do the same thing. The other thing is Jim has a particular gift, I think. And so he has worked in more rarefied circles than I have, but I have a different interest in the kind of theater that I like. I like things that are, I've worked with like Ann Bluthenthal dance troupe here, and does a lot of really politicized work, which I love because she walks the walk and talks the talk. And I've done some theater that moves me and makes me feel. I did a collaboration with her with a group of Salvadorian survivors from the war. It was just amazing. We did it at Fort Mason. I guess I like the sort of funk factor, the grittiness. I've worked at the Magic. I loved a lot of the stuff I did at the Magic. I like smaller, grittier things. I did a play at the Magic called Rust, which is about racism in sports. I loved the play, and I had worked with Rael Myrick on that, and there was the deal of, well, okay, yes, I'm white, but I am a costume designer, and I've been hired to do this, and believe me, I have an interest in doing it. And just having the discussions, about how we were going to do some of the presentations of the characters in the play. And she really liked my idea. We came up with in a sense, a metaphor, because blackface is not something that's done in American theater, but it was sort of part of what was talked about. So we came up with a metaphor for the skin, because we had white actors playing black people as well. And we used a purple, and kind of a purple color, a deep purpley brown. And we used masks, just like you would the old commedia style masks, as a stereotypical, and when it pushed the boundaries for all of us, but it was a wonderful experience. And the play didn't ever go anywhere, and I thought it was a better play than the production that we had, which was unfortunate. I like exploring different things. I've done a lot of dance pieces. I also started my own costume studio in downtown San Francisco, which I ran for 16 years. And in that venue, I was able to do some designing on my own. And the reason I opened the studio, ironically, was to have a clean, well-lit place to do costumes that was not my house, because I built a bunch of costumes in my house because we didn't have a space to do it. I did some stuff for Joe Boxer.
Pins everywhere.
Pins, and what was worse than
You're
the
not
pins?
walking bare feet.
What was worse than the pins was the glitter and sequins in
The
toilet.
sequins.
The sequins.
Oh, sequins.
They get everywhere, and you go to the bathroom. It's like, why is there glitter in my toilet? Oh, because I was working on this glittery outfit. So it just having a home costume shop and having to pack up your dining room and everything else to make costumes was not a working deal. So,
but we're not competitors in the field.
Yeah.
We're partners, and we bounce ideas off of each other. I'll say I'm having a particularly knotty problem. Not really seeking an answer for it, just airing something that I'm having a hard time working through in a text, for instance. And Cass will go, oh, yeah, that's interesting. And she'll start talking, and I'll go, you just gave me an idea. And and we do that. We use each other as mirrors, as sounding boards, because we trust each other.
Yeah, and
trust each other's judgment.
We do, and we have two different things that we do. We have two different viewpoints about a lot of things, but in the fundamentals, we agree.
Yeah,
very much so. And I think that's important. And I think the other thing is that we both are doing what we always wanted to do on some level, and supporting each other just makes sense.
It's hard enough.
It's hard enough. And like I said, we've always worked together and supported each other in each other's work. And the work we made a choice to not have children at a certain point. And I think for us it was good because we just really both wanted to focus on the work, and that became the thrust and my support of what Jim does. I don't always think he's the most brilliant one. I love going to events, and I'm very good at being very politic about things and very supportive, but
and she's really honest with me too. Sometimes a little painfully.
Not mean.
No, not in a mean way, but it's like, ouch. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I see that. Ouch. Thank you, honey.
Thank you, honey. Please don't say
she'll
it again.
She'll come home some nights after attack and throw all her gear into a chair and turn around and go, God damn, actors. No offense. No offense. No.
Yeah.
No, none taken.
Yeah.
I know we're a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So I can vent about actors, and go on and on and on about various and sundry things. So we both have someone, because we've both been there at some point, and we understand the other's point of view and what's going on, and we can laugh about it as well. But we also both like to do a lot of the same things. We like reading.
And we don't make theater. We don't make our whole lives about theater. Yeah. Right now, I'd say that's a little different because of the online demands and this group that I've set up. So.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. I know you've been doing some play readings during this break, and you've put a group together. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it started out, Anthony Fusco wanted to read True Crimes, which is a strange, naughty, dark little play about Appalachian people. And it's kind of creepy. And he said, I've always been fascinated by it, though. So we had a small get together and read it, and it was really nice to see my friends again. It was really nice to see my friends again, and just speak the words again. And we didn't have any rehearsal or anything like that. We just read it. And I thought, I've got a Zoom license for these classes I was teaching, and I had a Thursday slot already established. Why don't we have a reading every other week on Zoom? And Anthony was like, yeah, sounds good to me. So we started off with, I think, Cat's Play, and we read The Crucible, and we have since then, this was maybe 2.5, 3 months ago, we've since grown from the handful of actors to almost 80 now. And I don't think I'm counting the guests that we invite. It has now two wings. The reading circle is our church. I was telling Josh earlier. We pick a place. Somebody throws a name out. People vote on all the names suggested. The winning name, the person who suggested the winning name, then casts the play, either from in the group or without, and then they read it. Usually, the actors never get more than the script more than 4 days, 5 days ahead of time. There's no direction. It's just the actors and the words. It's just, okay, boom, go, you're on. And it has been, the first time we did it, I couldn't believe how, I don't know if I can quite even describe how I felt after the first reading. There was this weird feeling of elation, and it was a relief at seeing my friends, and it was we did it. It was some small cry of victory to the universe that made me feel like, you will not stop me. You will not stop my voice. You will not stop my stories. And I looked around at everybody's faces, and we were all feeling that. Our faces were shining. And I thought that, wow, what happened just now is important. And I need to keep doing this. And so that's what we've done. And we've kept our church. It's much larger congregation now. We're striving to seek a better racial representation within the group. We call that group the Thursdays at 7 group, because that's when we meet. But then we formed a broadcasting wing called ARC, Actors Reading Collective, and not all of us are in it. Some people value the church more, and don't want to do the broadcast because they value that the spiritual side of it more. And there is really something oddly celebratorial about this, about our craft when we do these things, because people just throw themselves into it. We had a reading last night of a play called Heroes of the Fourth Turning, which was about Christian fundamentalists.
It's an amazing play. I saw that play in New York.
Yeah, the director cast it all white, which I think is right, because it was about racism as well as religion. And it was brilliant. I mean, I don't know how it affected you, Josh, but it was a fierce reading. And I grew up with a lot of people like that, and I rarely see them depicted in any other way than a caricature, to be made fun of, a caricature to dehumanize them. And I think there's a lot of that happening in this day. We are dehumanizing each other to make us better enemies. And it's really hard to look at someone whose ideals are so fundamentally different from my own and go, they are human beings. I may not agree with what they're saying. I may disagree violently with what they're saying, but they're not evil. They are not evil. In fact, most of the time they are rather naive, not necessarily well educated, someone who'd rather read the Bible than Reuters news agency. For me, there's room in my heart for forgiveness for that. That's the way they were raised. What is the hard part is breaking down their preconceptions. And this play was really, really eloquent in the way it spoke to the battles that some of these people are having among themselves, who are supposedly aligned with Trump and yet disagree violently with the way he's going about achieving the end. And it's a good little play.
Well, and one of the other readings that they did, the feminine component of the reading group, the ladies, the women came up with the script for the Welkin, which is the same playwright as
Lucy
Kirkwood, and
as the children.
The children. This is the Welkin, and the women. One of the women, which lady was it that suggested it? Was
God, I don't know.
Anyway, they got a script, and they did the reading of the Welkin, and same thing. The women were just like,
oh, they tore it up.
They rocked
They
it.
were ferocious.
Yeah,
they were ferocious, and I love that kind of energy in a reading. You know, I love it when just you're just taken by the words and nothing else. You're not taken by a concept or a need to be stage right. You know, what you have to pick up next, what you have to do. You are so focused on the words that everything is, it's like subconscious thinking, you know, you're just going. We have one actress who doesn't read the play until she scrolls the script up on her screen. But she says that's what it's all about. It's about throwing down.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's a kind of a warrior mentality, and I think we kind of have to be warriors. Actors have to be warriors in these times. The hardest thing for me, Cass and I both had different struggles through this whole COVID crisis, but for me, the most frightening thing wasn't the virus, because that I could control to some extent. You know, I had some reign over that. What scared me was the loss of identity. It felt like I had been erased overnight. And from everything I listened to, every article I read, I was pretty sure it was probably going to be about 2 years before theaters were able to get up on their feet again, as a healthy organization. And it would be at least that long. And I hope this does not dishearten you guys. It would be at least that long before people were going to feel safe in them again.
And be safe. I mean, regardless of how people feel, I think it's like,
that breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. It made me feel like I'd been as disenfranchised as you can get. I no longer have a home. I no longer have a society of people to associate with. I no longer have an identity without what do you do? I'm an actor. I'm just some strange old white dude with a mustache, you know. And so I guess there's some kind of ego involved in that I don't want to be nobody. I want to be somebody who is contributing in some way. And this made me feel empowered, you know? It made me feel like I was helping people and helping my community. And I'm a senior member of the community and have rarely gotten to do anything for it because I'm on stage all the time. You know, I don't serve on any equity committees. I go to very few, you know, I go to maybe 4 different fundraising events for theaters, but that's about it. I don't get out to see, you know, Campos Santos or, you know, the smaller theaters who need supporting. And so this is my, you know, that's kind of my mission. it's really helped people. It's made me feel like, yes, I do have control. I was thrown a lifeline by a man named Giovanni Rodriguez, who just formed a remote theater company. And Giovanni had been a Silicon Valley guy who had been in theater, and he didn't know the actors in the Bay Area. But before I steered him onto our reading group, he hired me for a play called One Flea Spare, which is about 4 people locked in a room during the 1600s plague of London. And I knew nothing about online performing that. And when he asked me to do this, and I was a little terrified because I didn't know what it was even, you know? And I just thought there's only one way to find out, you know, you just have to jump into the water. And so I did. And it was a little 4-person, 5-person production, and very well done. And the director didn't want to have stage directions read, so everything that was done in the script we had to figure out to do. I had a ton of stuff done to me, and I had to figure out how to do it to myself. I had to have an orange screwed down onto my finger and then get pulled off, and the guy on the other screen would drink from the orange after he squeezed it. I had to tie myself up with rope. And I'm actually pretty good at it. It scares me. It scares me, Josh. Now, but you get really, you get inventive, you get creative. You have to be your own tech crew. You know, your light, sound. Cass made a jabot for me for a little neck scarf. We had minimal costumes, black Zoom backgrounds, and that was it. And it came off really well. And then Giovanni, who is waiting for a transplant, he actually directed one of the rehearsals from a hospital room. Giovanni said, I can't guarantee what my health will be like. Will you please take over this project for me? And it was a 25, 28-minute piece in the middle of a program called Summer Shorts, which were brief, fun sketches. And Ellen McLaughlin had been cast in it. And another actress who was older, taught at the Bronx School of Bronx Community College, and was an actress as well. And it turned out really well. I was like, I know where this play lives. I know the style that I have to attack this piece with. And I know that it lives, I can make it live somewhere on the border between film and between theater. I can get both those in there.
And on Zoom.
Yeah, because that's what Zoom is. It's not theater and it's not film. And you can't complain, well, it's not theater. No, of course it's not theater. It's Zoom. Live with it. Get creative with it. You know, you're creative individuals, get creative with it. Yeah, so we've kind of stumbled our way forward to this point now. But the Complete Unknowns that I directed, it actually, I'm very proud of it. It turned out beautifully. They had maybe 8 hours of rehearsal, but a lot of which got taken up by technical issues. And they were wonderful. They were really wonderful. It wasn't perfect.
Let me ask this. I just want to make, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are going to want to find out if they can actually watch you and these actors do these readings online. And I know you said that the group that's the church is a sacred space, and that sounds like it is not open to the public, but maybe this other part of it is open to the public, and there's something that people can check out.
Yeah, we're we're slowly getting, people are saying, hey man, can I help? And I'm like, yeah, yes, you can actually. Why don't you do publicity? Why don't you think about publicity? Or why don't you look into the union issues on this show and see what contractual things we might bump? So I'm able to, you know, people have said, hey, I'll. So it's really kind of a cooperative right now. We're fumbling. I'm trying not to structure it too much. I want to keep it flexible, and I'm finding my way. We are finding our way towards how to do that. Um, it's fun. It
Well, and I would say the other thing that I think that Jim is dealing with is the fact of that it is something that people want to watch, which was not what their original intention was. Their original intention was, we just want to do this. But seeing how it can be done online, and that there is a desire for this kind of stuff is really great. But then, and the group has brought these questions up is that so many actors are doing all these kinds of things to help the theater for free. And at some point, how are they going to figure when does that paradigm change?
Yeah.
So that there is some sort of some form, even I'm more the organizing sort of person, is for me, if it can get to a point where, you know, people want to donate money, but then you have to form a 401, you have to do all this kind of stuff. And because once it becomes monetized, then it's another whole thing. And Jim doesn't want it to be that other whole thing.
I don't think any of us do.
None of them really do. But the opportunity to be able to do the actual broadcast ones that people do want to have broadcast that's the sticking place and the slippery slope at this moment, is trying to work with the unions and figure out, okay, so if we do this, what kind of contract would it be? Because people are starting to ask, wow, if we're getting these out there, it'd be great if we could get paid. And especially if other people are saying,
Yeah.
we want to donate to a GoFundMe for your group, and it's not, and you can't just take it, okay, let's all have a party. That's not what it's about. It's like, if people give you money, you have a responsibility to you know, even if it's only, you know, $2,000, you still have a responsibility. So Jim and his co-founder Aldo Billingsley have been going back and forth about how this is, and they've designated some discussions to other members who have been equity reps and stuff like that, and actually having more success with SAG-AFTRA and MOPIC. Yeah. In terms of getting kind of a contract, which I think is an exciting thing, because if you can be on the forefront of setting that up so that there is a platform that when you get to that point and you want to pay people, even if it's like, you know, when you do in theater, when you do a play reading, you get a flat fee. When you do a workshop reading, there's a set fee for that, so that it says your time is valuable. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of the direction that the producing part, you know, those who want to do this producing are with Jim's help exploring those venues and that way of production, because both of us believe that I think that this kind of platform of entertainment enlightenment is here to stay. I don't think it's going to go away. I think you're going to have live theater. I think we're going to have films, and I think we're going to have some kind of internet something. Yeah. You know, and the trick is finding the pathway so that everybody gets something from it, because it's also very educational. I will say this is that I know Jim really is working really hard, trying to invite as many persons of color, but the group has a larger component than most of the theater companies that we've worked for in every play reading. Because lots of times the component is much larger. Jim has mentored several African-American young men from ACT's program who were not getting what they needed. He's done some teaching at an organization in Oakland, again with young performers of color, and basically inviting them to come to the table. I invited some of my students to come to the table from San Jose. So, and a predominance of women. Many times, a lot of times, when they did the Crucible, they didn't have enough men, so the women got to read the judges. But when I look across the spectrum there, I see the different, ethnicities and genders and transgenders on those little squares in the screen. But once they start reading, I'm listening to the words and I'm hearing what's being said, and I'm not paying attention to, oh, that person is Mediterranean and they're the mom of it goes away because you're listening to the words, and they're just little squares. And that's that, and you're not, well, historically the Crucible, the judges would never have been women. It's like, women's what we've got. They read it with passion and conviction.
That sounds amazing, guys.
Yeah. Because your time is valuable, and we have gone well past. I know, Cass, you have to get back. No, this has been enlightening. So many things you've said, Jim, have resonated with me. That loss of identity, but the finding empowerment. But we don't want to take up any more of your time. I know Cass has to get back to her syllabus.
Go to my syllabus. This is much more fun than that.
But please do keep us in the loop, because any way that when you are ready for public broadcast, or any way that we can amplify this, or help
the SAG contract.
Lovely.
We're
currently working under a members project code, which I believe means that if we were to do it at the Aurora would be the venue and not the producing organization.
Yes.
But if you guys want to talk about that,
let's talk.
Yeah, certainly do it.
That's what I was hoping would happen, was other things would come out of this, pack a room with potential, pack a room of creative people together, and you're going to get a huge amount of potential. Something is bound to come out of it.
I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much
for being with us.
Absolutely.
We should remind our viewers that we are in our 2021 season, and those memberships are still available, and we're rolling out new member benefits. We sent a big email, but new things are going to be added, updated to what's available as part of a membership. So check us out on the website if you have any interest in that.
And we want to give a shout out this week, as we do every week, to another organization that's doing good work in our community. This week, we are talking about Berkeley Youth Alternatives. Berkeley Youth Alternatives is a community-based organization. Their vision is to provide a secure and nurturing environment for all the children, youth, and families of our community. They desire to promote to their fullest potential the freedom to develop individual skills and visions of the world. Their mission is to help children, youth, and their families address issues and problems via prevention, by reaching youth before their problems become crises, and via intervention through the provision of support services to youth entangled in the juvenile justice system. Berkeley Youth Alternatives helps to build capacity within individuals to reach their innate potential. You can check them out at byaonline.org.
And friends, you can reach us at connects@auroratheater.org. That's connects@auroratheater.org. We always are interested in hearing from you. Who do we have next week, Josh?
Yeah, next week we'll be talking to the Poet Laureate of Berkeley, Rafael Jesus Gonzalez. He is a fantastic guy, and I'm so happy to get to have him on the show.
That's so thrilling. We want to thank you all. We did have a comment come in from our viewers. Michael Asbury says, you do look like Sherlock, and that he wants to thank James and Cassandra for sharing your hearts, ideas, and energy. I echo that sentiment. And to you at home, we want to thank you for staying connected. Bye.